Here's the thought that should terrify you. The muscle that will decide if you spend your golden years walking freely or shuffling behind a walker is already weakening inside your body right now. And you probably have no idea it's happening. Most people think falls happen because of bad balance. They think hip replacements come from worn-out joints. They believe walkers are just part of getting old. Every single one of those beliefs is wrong. A study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society tracked over 3,000 adults for 12 years. Researchers found something that changed how orthopedic doctors think about aging. The people who ended up needing walkers, canes, and wheelchairs didn't have worse joints than those who stayed mobile. They had weaker muscles. Specifically, they had weakness in 3 muscle groups that most people have never heard of and almost nobody trains. Here's what makes this scary. These muscles start declining in your 30s. By the time you're 50, you've already lost significant strength in the exact muscles that keep you upright. By 65, many people have crossed a threshold that orthopedic surgeons call the mobility cliff. Once you fall below this threshold, your body can no longer perform basic tasks without assistance. The good news: this is completely reversible. I'm going to show you exactly which muscles determine your fate after 75. I'll explain how they work in your body, why they weaken, and most importantly, what you can do starting today to rebuild them. By the end of this video, you'll understand your body better than 90% of people who walk into an orthopedic clinic. Let me start with the muscle that matters most. It's called the gluteus medius. Most people have never heard this name. They know about the gluteus maximus because that's the big muscle that shapes your rear end. But the gluteus medius sits higher and to the side. It wraps around your hip like a thick band. And it does something that no other muscle in your body can do. Every time you take a step, you lift one foot off the ground. In that moment, your entire body weight shifts to one leg. Without the gluteus medius, you would simply collapse sideways. This muscle fires to keep your pelvis level. It pulls your hip bone inward against the weight of your body trying to tip over. Here's why this matters for walkers. When the gluteus medius weakens, your pelvis starts to drop on the opposite side with each step. Orthopedic doctors call this a Trendelenburg gait. You've seen it. It's that side-to-side waddle that older people develop. Most people think it's just how old folks walk. It's not. It's a sign of gluteus medius failure. Once this waddle develops, your body starts compensating. Your spine curves to one side. Your knees take stress they were never designed to handle. Your lower back muscles work overtime to keep you from falling. These compensations create pain. The pain makes you move less. Moving less makes the muscle weaker. The muscle gets weaker, the waddle gets worse. This cycle is exactly how people end up needing a walker. A study from the University of Pittsburgh examined the hip muscles of people who had fallen versus people who hadn't. The difference in gluteus medius strength between the two groups was 34%. That's not a small gap. That's the difference between staying on your feet and breaking a hip. Now let me tell you about the second muscle group that orthopedic doctors worry about. This one surprises people because they think they already train it. Your quadriceps are the 4 muscles on the front of your thigh. Most people know these muscles exist. What they don't know is that the quadriceps have one job that becomes critical after age 70. They get you out of a chair. Think about that motion. You're sitting, you want to stand. Your body has to lift your entire weight from a seated position to a standing one. The only muscles capable of doing this are your quadriceps. There is no other muscle group that can perform this action. Here's what happens as you age. Your quadriceps lose strength faster than almost any other muscle in your body. Research from Tufts University found that people lose roughly 1 to 2% of their quad strength every year after age 50. By 75, you may have lost 50% of the strength you had at 30. Now here's the threshold that matters. To get out of a standard chair without using your arms, you need to generate force equal to roughly 60% of your body weight through your quadriceps. When your quads can no longer produce this force, you start using your arms to push yourself up. You've seen older people do this. They put their hands on the armrests and shove. They rock forward and back to build momentum. They grab nearby furniture. This is not normal aging. This is quadriceps failure, and it predicts walker use better than almost any other measurement doctors have. A remarkable study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine followed adults from age 60 to 85. The researchers measured quad strength at the start and then tracked who ended up needing mobility aids. The results were stunning. People who couldn't rise from a chair without using their arms at age 65 had an 84% chance of needing a walker by age 80. People who could rise easily had only a 12% chance. Read that again. The difference between using your arms and not using your arms predicts your future mobility with 84% accuracy. I'm going to show you exactly how to test your quadriceps strength at home in a few minutes, and I'll give you the specific exercises that rebuild this muscle fastest. But first, you need to understand the third muscle group. This one is the most overlooked, and in some ways the most important. Your soleus muscle sits deep in your calf, underneath the larger gastrocnemius muscle that most people see. The soleus doesn't look impressive. It's flat and relatively thin, but it does something remarkable. When you stand still, your body constantly sways. You don't notice it because the movements are small, but your center of gravity is always shifting forward and backward, left and right. The soleus muscle fires thousands of times per hour to make tiny corrections. It pushes against the ground to prevent you from tipping forward. It's essentially a biological anti-fall system that runs automatically. Here's the problem. The soleus is a slow-twitch muscle, which means it's designed for endurance rather than power. Slow-twitch muscles need constant stimulation to maintain their strength. When people become sedentary, the soleus weakens faster than almost any other muscle, because it's no longer being used for its primary purpose. Research from the University of Colorado measured soleus activity in older adults during standing. They found that people with weak soleus muscles showed much larger sway patterns. These larger sway patterns directly predicted fall risk. The people who swayed most fell most. Here's what most people don't understand. The soleus doesn't just prevent falls from tripping. It prevents falls from standing still. Many older adults fall while doing nothing. They're standing at the sink. They're waiting in line. They're reaching for something on a shelf. And suddenly they're on the ground. Emergency room doctors see this constantly. The patient says, "I don't know what happened, I just fell." What happened was soleus failure. The muscle couldn't correct a normal postural sway, and the person went down. Now I need to tell you about something that connects all three of these muscles. It's the reason they weaken together, and the reason you can rebuild them together. Your nervous system controls muscle activation through something called motor units. A motor unit is one nerve connected to a group of muscle fibers. When the nerve fires, all the fibers in that unit contract. Young people have many motor units with fine control. They can activate small numbers of muscle fibers precisely. As you age, you lose motor units. This is called motor unit loss, and it begins around age 50. By 70, you may have lost 40% of your motor units. The remaining motor units have to control more muscle fibers, which means you lose precision. Your movements become less controlled. Your muscles fire in larger, clumsier patterns. This motor unit loss affects the gluteus medius, quadriceps, and soleus more than other muscles. Scientists believe this happens because these muscles require precise, constant activation. They're not muscles you use for big, powerful movements. They're muscles you use for stability and control. When motor units disappear, stability and control disappear with them. Here's what research has shown. You can rebuild motor units. A study from the University of Miami found that older adults who performed specific types of exercise regained motor units they had lost. The key was the type of exercise. Random movement didn't help. Targeted exercises that required precise muscle activation rebuilt the nervous system connections. This is why I'm going to be very specific about the exercises I recommend later. Generic advice like just walk more or stay active does almost nothing for these muscles. You need exercises that target them directly and force your nervous system to rebuild the connections. Let me tell you what happens inside your body when these three muscle groups fail together. The gluteus medius stops stabilizing your pelvis. Your hip starts to drop and shift with each step. This changed walking pattern puts stress on your knees. The cartilage in your knee joint starts wearing unevenly. You develop pain on one side of your knee. A doctor might tell you it's arthritis. It is arthritis, but the arthritis came from muscle weakness, not from aging. Meanwhile, your quadriceps can no longer lift your body weight efficiently. You start avoiding stairs. You stop getting up from low chairs. You choose restaurants with higher seating. You might not even notice you're making these choices. Your brain adapts to protect you from tasks your muscles can't handle. Your soleus muscle loses its ability to make quick corrections. You start feeling unsteady. You walk slower, not because you're tired, but because slow walking requires less balance correction. You start touching walls and furniture as you walk by. This isn't a choice. It's your nervous system seeking stability your muscles can no longer provide. These changes happen over years. They're so gradual that you adapt to each new limitation. By the time you notice something is wrong, you've already lost significant function. This is why orthopedic doctors get frustrated. Patients come in after years of decline, asking for help. The doctor can see exactly what happened. Muscle loss led to compensation, led to joint damage, led to pain, led to less movement, led to more muscle loss. A cycle that could have been prevented with a few minutes of exercise per day. I promise to show you how to test yourself at home. Let me give you 3 simple tests that predict walker use. Better than expensive medical scans. The first test is for gluteus medius strength. Stand on one leg. Just lift one foot slightly off the ground. Now look at your hips in a mirror or have someone watch you. If the hip on the lifted side drops down, your gluteus medius is weak. You should be able to hold your hips perfectly level for at least 30 seconds. If you can't, you've already crossed into the danger zone for this muscle. The second test is for quadriceps strength. Sit in a chair that puts your knees at a 90-degree angle. Fold your arms across your chest. Now stand up without leaning forward excessively and without unfolding your arms. If you can do this easily, your quadriceps are adequate for now. If you struggle, rock forward, or have to use your arms, your quadriceps have already declined below the safety threshold. The third test is for soleus function. Stand with your feet together and close your eyes. Have someone time you. You should be able to stand still, with your eyes closed for at least 30 seconds, without significant sway. If you start wobbling immediately, or have to open your eyes or grab something, your soleus has weakened beyond safe levels. Now here's what I want you to understand. Failing these tests doesn't mean you're doomed. It means you've identified the problem before it causes a catastrophe. A failed hip is devastating. A failed balance system leading to a fall is devastating. Finding out your muscles are weak costs you nothing and gives you everything. I'm going to give you the exact exercises to rebuild each of these muscles. These aren't generic recommendations. These are the specific movements that research has shown activate these muscles most effectively. I'll tell you exactly how many repetitions to do, how often to do them, and how to progress as you get stronger. But first, I need to explain one more concept that changes how you should think about this problem. There's a concept in exercise science called the minimum threshold of stimulation. Every muscle in your body requires a certain amount of work to maintain its current level of strength. Below this threshold, the muscle weakens. Above this threshold, the muscle either maintains or builds strength. The problem is that normal daily activities used to keep us above the threshold automatically. Our ancestors walked miles every day. They squatted to cook, to gather, to rest. They climbed, lifted, carried, and pushed. Their gluteus medius, quadriceps, and soleus received constant stimulation. Modern life has dropped us below the threshold. We sit in cars, at desks, on couches. We ride elevators instead of climbing stairs. We use carts instead of carrying groceries. We sit in chairs instead of squatting. Our muscles receive almost no meaningful stimulation throughout the day. Here's the key insight. You don't need to exercise for hours to cross back above the threshold. You need specific exercises that target specific muscles with enough intensity to trigger a maintenance response. For the three muscles we've discussed, this can take as little as 10 to 15 minutes per day. Let me give you the exercises, starting with the gluteus medius. The most effective exercise for the gluteus medius is the side-lying hip abduction. You lie on your side with your legs stacked. Your bottom leg can be slightly bent for stability. Your top leg stays straight. You lift your top leg toward the ceiling, keeping your hips stacked vertically. You don't need to lift high. 8 to 12 inches is enough. What matters is that you feel the muscle working on the side of your hip. The key mistake people make is rotating their top leg outward. When you rotate, you shift the work to your gluteus maximus. The medius works hardest when your toes stay pointing forward throughout the movement. Imagine your leg sliding up along a wall behind you. That's the path you want. Start with 2 sets of 15 repetitions on each side. Do this every other day. After 2 weeks, add a light ankle weight. After a month, you should feel significantly more stable when walking. A more advanced exercise is the single leg stance with reach. Stand on one leg and reach forward with your opposite arm, as if you're picking something off a low shelf. The reaching motion forces your gluteus medius to work harder to keep your pelvis stable. This exercise builds both strength and the neural pathways that control balance. Now for the quadriceps. The sit-to-stand exercise is the most functional quadriceps builder. For older adults, use a chair that puts your knees at roughly 90 degrees. Fold your arms across your chest. Stand up without leaning forward excessively. Sit back down slowly, taking 4 full seconds to lower yourself. The slow lowering, which scientists call the eccentric phase, builds strength faster than the standing phase. Start with 2 sets of 10 repetitions. Rest for 1 minute between sets. As this becomes easier, lower the chair height. A lower starting position requires more quadriceps force. Eventually, you can use a small step stool or a stack of firm cushions to further increase the challenge. If you can't yet perform this exercise with arms folded, start with your hands resting on your thighs. Push slightly with your hands only as much as needed. Each week, try to use your hands less. Within 4 to 6 weeks, most people can progress to the arms folded version. Another excellent quadriceps exercise is the wall sit. Stand with your back against a wall. Slide down until your thighs are parallel to the floor. Hold this position. Your quadriceps will burn. This is exactly what you want. The burning sensation indicates that the muscle is working at high intensity. Start with 15 seconds. Add 5 seconds each week. Work toward a goal of 90 seconds. When you can hold a wall sit for 90 seconds, your quadriceps have adequate strength for most daily activities. Now for the soleus. The most effective soleus exercise is the seated calf raise. Sit in a chair with your feet flat on the floor. Place a weight across your thighs just above your knees. A heavy book, a backpack with bottles of water, or an actual dumbbell all work. Now raise your heels off the ground while keeping your toes down. Lower slowly. The reason you sit for this exercise is important. When you stand for calf raises, your larger gastrocnemius muscle does most of the work. The gastrocnemius crosses your knee joint, so it works best when your knee is straight. The soleus only crosses your ankle, so it works hardest when your knee is bent. The seated position bends your knee and shifts the work to the soleus. Start with 2 sets of 20 repetitions. Add weight as this becomes easy. You should feel a deep burn in your lower calf, behind your ankle. That's the soleus working. For balance specifically, add standing balance holds to your routine. Stand on one leg for 30 seconds. Then close your eyes and try to hold for another 30 seconds. This forces your soleus and all the small stabilizing muscles in your foot and ankle to work together. Progress this exercise by standing on a folded towel or a thin pillow. The unstable surface forces more muscle activation. Eventually, you can try standing on one leg with your eyes closed on the unstable surface. This level of balance training protects against falls better than almost any other exercise. Let me now address the question I get most often when I explain these exercises to people. The question is, how long until I see results? The answer depends on your starting point. If you're in your 30s or 40s with mild weakness, you'll notice improvement within 2 weeks. Your legs will feel more stable. Stairs will feel easier. You'll find yourself moving without thinking about it. If you're in your 60s or 70s with significant weakness, plan for 8 to 12 weeks before major changes. The first 4 weeks are mostly neural adaptation. Your nervous system is relearning how to activate these muscles. You might not notice much difference, but critical changes are happening inside your body. After about 4 weeks, you'll start seeing strength gains. The muscles themselves will grow larger and more powerful. This is when daily activities start feeling noticeably easier. By 12 weeks, most people have dramatically improved their function. Critical point here. You must continue these exercises forever, not at the same intensity but at a maintenance level. Once you've rebuilt strength, you can reduce to 2 or 3 sessions per week. But if you stop completely, you'll begin losing ground within 2 weeks. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't brush intensively for 3 months and then stop. You brush daily to maintain dental health. These exercises maintain mobility health. They're a permanent part of your self-care routine. Now, I want to tell you something that might change how you think about this entire topic. The exercises I've described don't just prevent walker use. They prevent the cascade of problems that leads to walker use. When your gluteus medius is strong, your knees track properly. You don't develop the arthritis that would otherwise require a knee replacement. When your quadriceps are strong, you stay active. Staying active keeps your cardiovascular system healthy, your bones dense, and your mind sharp. When your soleus is strong, you don't fall. Not falling means no broken hips, no head injuries, no hospitalizations. The research on this is overwhelming. A meta-analysis published in the British Medical Journal combined data from 17 studies with over 50,000 participants. They found that strength training reduced fall risk by 23%, fracture risk by 17%, and all-cause mortality by 15%. Those numbers mean that these simple exercises don't just keep you out of a walker, they help keep you alive. Let me address some common mistakes I see people make when they try to implement these exercises. The first mistake is doing too much too soon. People hear that their muscles are weak, and they immediately start an intense program. Within 2 weeks, they've hurt themselves and they quit. Start below your capability. Build slowly. Progress takes months, not days. The second mistake is inconsistency. Doing these exercises once a week provides no benefit. Your muscles need stimulation at least every 72 hours to maintain strength. Every 48 hours is better. Once you're maintaining, 3 sessions per week is the minimum. The third mistake is poor form. These exercises require precise muscle activation. If you do them wrong, you train the wrong muscles. For each exercise, focus on feeling the target muscle work. If you don't feel it in the right place, stop and adjust your position until you do. The fourth mistake is ignoring nutrition. Muscles need protein to repair and grow. Older adults need more protein than younger people, not less. Research suggests that adults over 60 should consume roughly 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. Most older adults get less than half this amount. Without adequate protein, your muscles can't respond to exercise. The fifth mistake is thinking cardiovascular exercise is enough. Walking is good for your heart and lungs. It does almost nothing for the specific muscles we've discussed. You can walk 5 miles a day and still have weak gluteus medius, quadriceps, and soleus muscles. You need targeted resistance exercise. Now let me give you a simple weekly plan that puts everything together. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, do the strength exercises. Start with side-lying hip abductions, 2 sets of 15 on each side. Then do seated calf raises, 2 sets of 20. Then do sit-to-stand exercises, 2 sets of 10 with a 4-second lowering phase. Finish with a 30-second wall sit. This entire routine takes less than 15 minutes. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, do the balance exercises. Single leg stance for 30 seconds each leg with eyes open. Then 30 seconds each leg with eyes closed. Then single leg reach, 10 reaches on each leg. This routine takes less than 10 minutes. Sunday is rest. Your muscles need recovery time. After 4 weeks, begin adding resistance. Use ankle weights for the hip abductions. Add weight to your lap for the seated calf raises. Lower the chair height for sit-to-stands. Increase the wall sit duration. After 8 weeks, add the unstable surface balance work. Stand on folded towels or thin pillows during your balance routine. After 12 weeks, reassess using the 3 tests I described earlier. You should see significant improvement. If you don't, you're likely making one of the mistakes I mentioned. Adjust and continue. I want to end by telling you what orthopedic doctors see that most people never see. They see people at the end of the decline. They see the 78-year-old who broke her hip because she couldn't catch herself during a fall. They see the 82-year-old who can't get out of bed without help because his quadriceps are too weak. They see the 75-year-old who gave up gardening, then gave up cooking, then gave up leaving the house. These doctors also see the exceptions: the 85-year-old who still hikes, the 90-year-old who plays tennis, the 100-year-old who lives independently. These exceptions aren't genetic freaks. They're people who, intentionally or accidentally, maintain the 3 critical muscle groups their entire lives. You now know what they know. You know which muscles matter. You know how they work. You know how to test them. You know how to train them. The only question remaining is whether you'll act on this knowledge. A walker costs about $200. A hip replacement costs about $40,000. A nursing home costs about $8,000 per month. The exercises I've described cost nothing and take 15 minutes per day. The math is simple. The choice is clear. The muscles that will decide your future are waiting for you to make a decision. What will you decide?